Guys, I have a really, really, really huge confession for you guys. I'm not black. I'm Filipino and Mexican. Psych, I lied. That's another joke from freshman year. Okay? This is, no, seriously, this is a big, 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 big video I've been saving for a while. You know, that was a pretty good token. A whole lot of good shit going on. You know, I'm trying to tell you, that's a really great thing. So if you literally, like, check the date of the Demon Slayer, the release date of the anime, and go 10 years back to my high school when I was a freshman on my Facebook, that is literally our anniversary for my freshman year in high school. There was literally a 10-year length period since when I was in high school to when Demon Slayer was animated. And it's all based off me actually trying, you know, and being very successful. I was a turf dancer in high school. I was a whole lot of stuff. But why is this tie into this video? It's quite simple. Because I am going to break down to you guys a gift for his channel. Something that's requested by Morgan. Morganism is my god on the Discord. But this guy literally told me we need to get this out the way. So I'm going to break down to you how powers work in Nonz. How powers work in Nonz is literally the premise of this video. How Hyphy juice spreads and how it's explained. This literally tells you everything you need to know the basis of the key in Dragon Ball Z and my comic book, which is Hyphy juice. How is Hyphy juice, you know, spread out? Why do they have so many different abilities? So let me enlighten you on what is the Hyphy juice material. So Hyphy juice is basically a mixture of spiritual energy and, you know, gas on Earth. So it's based off a whole lot of spiritual pressure, you know, a whole lot of demons. So what happens is there are specific genes that literally get passed on to each and every user. So there are 5 types of power users in Nonz. There are manipulators, they are summoners, they are creators, you know, there are a whole lot of them. There are literally dimensional users also. And these literally are the top 4 right now. So there's also a 5th one, and that is called intelligence. There are intelligence users too. So intelligence users are free. Okay, so who are intelligence users? Intelligent users are Morihiro. What an intelligent user is he's somebody with an overpowered quirk, basically, like the same power quirk, whatever. And it's overpowered, but it has catch 22. There's a limitation to it. So Morihiro goes like this. So Morihiro can control electricity, but he can only do it for defensive purposes, and that's what an intelligence user is. He's stuck with a handicap for his quirk, but it becomes stronger the more he uses it and the more he works with it. So basically, Morihiro can only project static string. He cannot literally harm you. So what he has to do is he has to use his electricity in a way to trap you. Zaf is also, his rival is also an intelligence user. He has to trap you with a shape that he makes out of electrical string, and then you get electrified. And then there's Ranye, one of my favorite characters. Ranye is Schoolhouse Rock, where he can trap you in a dimension, but the dimension has to do everything with school. It can only work with school properties. So why is this video made? It's to elaborate stuff like Ranye's power and how he made it more hacks than what it was. And so let me break down Ranye and how he got stronger and how he literally. So there's a thing in Nonz where everybody knows Kung Fu, everybody knows hand-to-hand combat, just like the Ninja Academy and Naruto, and just like Dragon Ball Z with their fight scenes, you know, they all know martial arts. So that's one thing. So relying on your power alone is not okay in Nonz. And there's literally a whole lot of shit you do. You can learn how to manipulate Hyphy juice over time. So Hyphy juice can be manipulated just like Ki. You can make Hyphy juice, you know, beam blast if you're powerful enough. It's really hard to do. So it does have its effect, but you're really stuck with a quirk. You're really stuck with a ninjutsu ability. Majority of the characters in Nonz only have ninjutsu ability. Only few could pull out beam blast, and so their abilities will count solid. What's the whole point of throwing the ki blast when Morihiro can create a shield? You know, it's stuff like that. You know, you learn how to like work with other shit over top. Like Gabaya's quirk. Gabaya is also part summoner, part creator. He has multiple quirks because literally they are dimension users. Like Ranye is also part dimension users. They're mixes and quirks, and literally so Gabaya, like his hacks 22 is that literally he's uncoordinated and he doesn't know how like land stuff right. He has to practice, he has to work out, he has to train, he has to do a whole lot to work with his power, because his power is basically like throwing projectiles. He needs to get buff, he needs to get fit, he needs to learn how to like use his power to his best ability, because the more Hyphy juice he has, the more he can summon, but he can only summon the bits and pieces depending on how much Hyphy juice he has left. And literally that's a big conflict for Gabaya, you know, literally making a whole bunch of projectiles but having enemies that have even more hacks abilities and get that out of here. But literally, what Ranye is Gabaya is very strong, because Gabaya comes from a strong gene from his family, so he's not too strong by default. So literally, Ranye is actually just as strong as Gabaya physically, and the reason why Ranye is physically strong, I explained that in another video how like chimeras can pass on their abilities. So Ranye chose to get a chimera extension, and all he has is basically bare ears and a little bit of bare fur. Everything else is like literally basically human, and people do that in Nonz in order to enhance their abilities, just like Ranye. So Ranye learned how like make the school statues come to life. So that's how he enhanced his quirks. This is what this video is all about, like how they enhance their powers and literally how they can spread. So Kazikachi Hero is a summoner, but he's also a manipulator too. So it's crazy. So what happens is this: you have to master one, and then you have to work on another. You have to have your primary, and you could like have bits and elements of other pieces, but you can't literally like say if Code Kai like with his tongue out, you know, if he sticks his tongue out and like the saliva, he can get help from Zaf, and if Zaf can literally make a zap that's gonna electrify his tongue, he can have an electric tongue as a sword. So yeah, that is really how you can create quirks and Nonz, but you have to train your ability in order to do so. It's kind of like the fire technique. When I was in Boy Scouts, there was this thing where you learn how to put gasoline on your hand, and you light the fire, and like literally, you don't burn your hand, but the fire is a layer above the gasoline, and you're handling it. It's still hot, by the way, but what you're doing is you learn how to control it. You can do this in real life. Like you can like look up how to put gas on your hand and light a little bit of fire on it. It's liquid gas, and you can do tricks for it, but like it's really tough. You have to be a master at it. So that's basically the same formula. You have to understand that Nonz, it comes with a whole lot of different difficulties, like appearances, you know. So basically, I'll put it like this. So Ranye chose a bear extension in order for him to be physically as strong as all the other captains. So that is the reason why Ranye, you can't just think like, oh, I'm going to rely on Ranye because he's a bookworm. They are no martial arts, and he's literally up there when it comes to self-defense. Now, Ranye is very powerful. He's one of the most powerful, you know, kids of his generation. But there's also Gabaya with his will, and also Gabaya being able to literally summon multiple moved objects, and also being a good martial artist himself. So let me put it like this: there are physical abilities that are literally granted by their own user due to not just genetics, but due to like literally a whole lot of other factors that play into it. So I'm gonna put it like this: so Hyphy juice is a thing that literally what happens is you can spread it, you can pass it to your ally, but only if you're more advanced, you know, all that advanced in Dragon Ball Z. But it also has a big limitation, like Lily. So there is a many thing. Like, if you don't know what many is, go look it up in the Urban Dictionary. There's a lot of things that I say that you don't know unless you look up on the Urban Dictionary, and that's very important. Like a JCat, you have to understand what a JCat is. Look that up on the Urban Dictionary. That's literally slang from my high school, slang from the Jewish school. Like, it's universal slang. Like ass also can come from the Urban Dictionary. That's the example. So basically, this is a video of how literally different quirks manifest each other. You can also have your own physical ability when you do this. So basically, it's like this. Like, I'll put it like this: Ranye has a member on his team that's also a summoner named Yenda. So summoners are literally one of the most powerful. Dijiro is a summoner. You know, Gabaya isn't really part summoner. Now there are physical hacks abilities that Gabaya has, and same with Beta, same with Tito. So I'll put it like this: like, there are physical abilities that literally outweighs some quirks and Nonz. So you can either be like super strong, and that comes genetically. That doesn't really come from like literally a specific power in general. But what that is that's another style of power that I'm gonna explain for another video. And each individual power, you know, type is gonna get their video. The manipulators are really far and why. Like Ditto, if you go watch the Valentine's Day special, Ditto is a manipulator. So what are manipulators? Manipulators are people that literally have OP powers, but they can only use them in ways that they manipulate the environment. Like Ditto's power is to move you with the chess piece, but it depends on how much hype he has. He's very OP, but he can also, as you see in the Valentine's Day movie, what he did is he turned his chess piece into a sword, and he can also throw his chess piece with the element of Rend, and he learns that from literally working on your quirk. What you do is you have one quirk and you add onto it, but you only add so much onto your quirk. And the crazy thing is, like, you can do so much, but you have to literally, you have to do, like, earth bending shit in order to do it. Like, you have to be physically strong. It's a mental thing. Like, you have to, in order to fuse, you know, powers and Nonz, you have to be a master at it. So this guy named Giovanni, who's Ditto's brother, what he did was he has a base and he's just like Ditto. His power is to repulse other powers. So what he did is instead of repulsing, he mastered the trait and he learned how to like negate and use one power that he beat from one guy when he can't. So that's Giovanni's character. What he does is he takes other people's powers, but he improvises like with Kung Fu because his power is to repel because he's a defender, you know? So it's crazy. So Morihiro power is pretty hacked. Later on, he's going to learn how to use his power in offensive ways, but it's after doing a whole bunch of defensive. So Morihiro can only make an offensive move after a couple of, you know, at least 10 moves of defense. So Morihiro is really handicapped when it comes to that. Beta, on the other hand, is physical, and so there's a whole lot of other shit. So, you know, how you literally manipulate your key and Nonz. Like, I'm telling you, some users can do it. Like, Gabaya cannot make a key blast, and it's crazy. And there's so many other, you know, factors to play intro, but this is just the basis of like how powers work. So that is pretty much the premise of Nonz, like how you can improve for your power. Like Zofio, sometimes he has powers, like he puts his powers, what he does is, I made him look OP. What he has is, he could take a fire element and add it to its spider. He can like literally put different stuff in different spiders, and like he can literally, and that's from different warriors he defeats. But sometimes he can kind of like imitate the warrior, but he can't really. So he's not really that OP. But I'm saying there are attributes just like Rimuru Slime that he can add to his fucking spiders. But they're only like little trinkets to get him out of shit. So there's a whole lot more of Zofio. We think that's a spoiler. We have nothing coming because he is literally one of my favorite villains in Nonz, and literally he. Not just that, Zofio will be prominent in a lot of arcs. So there's a more than enough screen time for Zofio. So basically, Timdachi is a manipulator, creator, summoner, you know, with all those magic tricks, you know. And there's also other ways that you can incorporate things in nonsense. You can incorporate not only chimeras, but things like Taiko's power to be able to control ghosts is also a very good hacks ability. What he does is he summons ghosts out of his back, but then they solidify over time so he can summon ghost boxers and stuff like that. So like little shit like that is freaking mania. So like you have to understand that Nonz has a lot of potential. It is kind of, you know, just a little bit of a synopsis. This is not spoiling anything at all. This is literally something I kind of like rushed over time because it was requested, like, how does Hyphy Juice work? Like, what are the defaults of Hyphy Juice? So, Hyphy Juice literally has a limitation, and the limitation has to do with not only the person, his physical ability, and literally, so the more you are within with, like, your quirk, the stronger, like, formations that you can make, and literally, so that's crazy. So, that's just a little bit of an insider. Nonz has a lot of hacks powers, but there's always a cat story too that every hacks power. But kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, what they do is they here's what I do when I make a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. So basically, you get an archetype and you have things that summon. Like, say if I want to special summon a monster that is based off one monster, but I can't, you know, do it right away. But what happened? I'm looking for a special ability, but I'm looking for something before I activate, because OTK exists in Yu-Gi-Oh. So what you have to do is you have to make a plan to stall for the enemy until you get your special summon, until you get this and that. And that is exactly how Nonz is. So basically what you have to do is you have to have other archetypes to support your one archetype, but it can only be in bits and pieces, but you want to have an overall theme. So that's basically like how you like handle your power in Nonz. Like basically that's what I did when I created my deck is like I add special ability, but what would happen is the gameplay would always get away where their fucking monster would fucking be so fucking strong it didn't matter, and literally some monsters are able to negate. So what you have to do is like literally you fucking you prepare for like literally more and more things. That's why you keep on adding onto your quirks. So what I did is I kept on adding archetypes on top of archetypes on top of archetypes to my one deck, and that's how you literally like become a little bit more of a high tier Nonz. But this is like move tricks. This is how like the power of Hyphy juice and like how different attributes of Hyphy juice users work in Nonz.